Okay, I'm recording. Hey, y'all, welcome back to Blackspin. Yes, I do. I'm on the same shirt, okay? Yeah, anybody know it? I love rock and roll. But anyway, so not the pedophile rock and roll like Chuck Berry, but like the real rock and roll. Like, where your piece to go? What? Y'all playing. I'm also going to do a video on how black people, well, people in general, honestly, are hypnotized by music. And when you listen to white music, it's like, buy dirt, get the one that you can't live without. Some things let your knee hit the ground. You got people like singing like that, and then you have people in our community, fuck bitches, steal money, like it's crazy. Okay, but that's the next video. We're on this video here, and right now I want to talk about how we have been manipulated into becoming Democrats. Now I did a rant on my Instagram about this. I would like to reference it. Let's see if it automatically pulls up because I don't want to log in. I don't want to have to log in, on TV, obviously. Okay. So maybe I don't have to log in. Okay, cool. So I will reference it and I will show it to you in a moment here. Okay, so a brief description here. This is the book I was telling you on the last video, the first Reconstruction. Okay, and how after the Democrats took over, the feds just kind of left Negroes for hanging and left us victims of Jim Crow, redlining, all these other things. Here are some of the founding members of the Republican Party. They have pictures in this book. I love pictures. But a lot of these young men, they're in their older years, they married Europeans, and then a lot of their lineage has since turned white, kind of like some of the great tribes in Africa. Okay, so boom, boom, boom. My whole thing is two things for sure. During this time, Africa was still under tribal law. So I don't know how you would still say that you're African from a common sense perspective. We would still be under tribal law. We had created the idea of politics because there were so many tribes on such a small island. So anyway, we had houses and things like that. But anyway, let's go straight to politics. So what I want you guys to understand is, like I was saying in the last video, when Trump said make America great again, he wanted to make America a republic again. So a republic as defined is power held by the people and using it. Whereas a Democrat is power given to others by the people for them to use. So let's go and take a look at these definitions. First, degenerate. Y'all remember that video, right? So let's get here. One moment. Let me make sure you guys can hear me. Oh, shit. My phone died. Let me use my other phone. Babe, I need to plug my phone up. Let's do, let me text my friend. I asked him to use his workout bike. I still ain't even got it. But he's busy and I'm busy, so there's that. Okay, so let's see. I'm just doing a quick sound check, you guys. I definitely do apologize. Just give me a moment to get everything together here on my end. Okay. Awesome, you can hear me. Okay, so let's look up Republic. Y'all know I be typing. I can't look down. I don't know how you guys do it. Like, shouts out to everybody who can type because I cannot. I can spell. Now, don't do me. A state in which supreme power is held by the people and their elected representatives, right? Okay. Now, before this, in my Oxford Law Dictionary, when I paid a lot of money for, they got ruined when I had stuff stored at my mom's house. You know, the books I cried about that I often speak about in other videos. This part was left out of it. Okay. But anyway, and then let's go to a democracy. A system of government. A system of government by whole population and all eligible members of state, typically the elected representatives. See, what they don't say is that this whole population, right here, the system of government, what they're saying is, you have to understand what they're saying in law terms. There's a system of government that holds all the power just to the eligible members, which means a certain aristocracy of people, okay? A certain type of people in power controlling things. That's basically what that means, okay? So it has nothing to do with the people, for the people, by the people, none of that shit. Remember, those speeches were written by Republicans, okay? So now that we have that understood, I want to go back here and I want to talk about, I want to talk about the conception of the two political parties. If you would like for me to do that, leave a comment and I will go back into the early 1700s into the conception of these two parties. But initially there was only one party here, which was the Republicans. The Dixiecrats, and then later on to become the Democrats, were created later on at the beginning, during, and after the Civil War. Okay, so the Republicans held the ideology of being fair because they knew that this land was not theirs, that the indigenous people of this land allowed them to live here, etc., etc. So with that being understood, there was always a sense of fairness at first. And then bullies came into political power and was like, bro, they already friendly. They too friendly any motherfucking way. They said we could live here, but we want to live over there. But let's just go ahead and just take their land. By then, there was a lot of intermingling, a lot of copulating with the pale-faced invader, so that we later on began to call them. But once they started copulating with them, and a lot of the tribes began to change color, because nowhere have you ever seen, because they love to say black people genes, or black men in particular genes, are so dominant that they can erase whiteness, but nowhere have you ever seen that occur. You have never seen whiteness erased. Okay, even with Sally Hemings' descendants, you know, Sally Hemings is the biracial sister of Martha Jefferson, who was Thomas Jefferson. Is that the president that was with Sally? I believe so. Thomas Jefferson's first wife, Martha, her dad had copulated with a slave girl, an indigenous woman, and then they bought or raised, or how, I don't know how that relationship went, her sister, which I'm pretty sure was a house Negro, Sally. And then when Martha died, Jeffrey or Thomas got with Sally Hemings. Now, if you look at their bloodline, you can tell that there's European in their blood 100 odd some years later. So I don't want to hear all that. You can wash away white blood. It is obvious. It is apparent. I don't care how many years later, which is why when I say I'm completely indigenous, there's no European in me. Like, it is obvious there's no European in me, because there is a phenotype that comes with European blood. You can't just wash it away. And if you are under the false premise that saliva can literally tell you your lineage, you are delusional, because spit cannot trace you back to land. Like, spit cannot triangulate a geographical location. Like, that is idiotic to even believe. But let's go back to these political parties. So again, let me know if you want me to go back to their conception. But in the 1800s is the politics that I want to focus on. The Republican Party in the early, mid, and late 1800s, they were all about equality, so to speak. Even though they did what they did, they violated the Peace and Friendship Treaty. They violated certain things that they had in common, and then through a copulation, they created a new race of people who wanted to identify as white, the quote unquote Indians. You know what I mean? So then you have the census of the 1700s, the paper genocide, and all that stuff happened. So while all of this was happening, remember, this stuff did not happen simultaneously, meaning back to back to back. This stuff happened congruently. All these things happen at the same time, which is why history gets so muddled, and then you think that this is this timeline, when no, in fact, these several things in history are happening in once. They're coinciding with one another, that are creating the future. You know what I mean? Which is our present. Their future, our present. So, with that being said, the Dixiecrats were very volatile, okay? They wanted the how can I put it in language? The rich, the chosen few, like in the definition, the rich wanted to run this place a certain type of way. Now, they didn't want that happy-go-lucky, we're all living together amongst friends. You know, they let us live here. Let's be fair. They didn't want that. You know what I mean? This is what they wanted. You know what I mean? And remember, the European brought that African ideology with them. Okay, the first Africans here were European Africans, were Euro Africans. So when Elon Musk says he's an African American, if he was born in Africa and he immigrated here and he's now an American, then he is an African American. But okay, I digress from that point. So they, George Washington and them were like, you know, everyone's equal, everyone's fair. Slavery shouldn't exist. And the reason why slavery shouldn't exist beyond 20 years is because black people threw a fit when they tried to tell the truth in history books. But, baby, text your cousin our address. I don't know why he keep asking for it. So, I lost my train of thought when Daddy's asked for my address. Shit. Damn it, Darren. That was my rain fart. It smells lovely. No. It smells like thoughts in progress. So anyway, so where did I stop at? Shit. Oh yeah. So they wanted to pack fair. The reason why slavery was supposed to only last 20 years was because that was the max that you could do in indentured servitude. Like when the Europeans didn't have enough money to get here, they would be indentured service to others. So then they had the prisoners of war, which was us. You know what I mean? There was indentured service, and then there were POWs. So let's be clear here. You know what I mean? And then a lot of the first tribes to Christianize, I call it to sell out, that you have those 5 tribes that are over all the tribes, even though there were hundreds of tribes here. They were the first to Christianize, to fall victim to the missionaries. So the Cherokee, like people let us say they mixed with Cherokee. I don't want none of that Cherokee blood in me, honey. Those are the first sellouts. They were first to copulate interracially. This is why they look so white. If you look up a Cherokee today, they look like white people. Okay, they look like white Hispanics. You know what I mean? They look more. You know what I mean? But anywho, so let's go here. I want to go to a visual aid to kind of hone in on what I'm saying. There's so much information in that book. It's all fuddling to me, and I want to say so much right now. But yeah, so they wanted to pack fair in a sense, as fair as they could be, while still dominating over it. So that's why you have the first president of the 13 colonies, as stated, which was the 13 colonies are actually some of the biggest tribal lands, okay, that they were introduced to. That's why they were like 13 colonies. It wasn't that they established these lines and these territorial boundaries. They didn't do that. These are boundaries that were already set in place. They just went up the Mississippi and got the tour of Turtle Island, basically. So anyway, so fast forward to, you know, they're already copulating with them and everything. The 13 colonies were established. The first president was John Henson, I believe is his name. He's a black guy. Let's see. Because I want to be as accurate as I can be. Let's see here. John Henson. Let's just do first. Where am I typing it? F13. It does say F13 colonies. Did you text in the address, baby? 13 colonies. I believe it was John Henson or... Okay, that's the... Where's the black guy? Henry. His name was Henry something. Never mind. Henry, H-E-N... How you spell Henry? Henry Harrison, let's see. No, what is this guy's name? Let's put black man shit. Now, what is this man's name? All these men went on to marry white women, talking about they want freedom. Like, this is where the idea came from. Like, I blame these black forefathers. But this is the first president of 13 colonies. Now, what is his name? No, Lord. And this is an African man? Like, y'all stop it. Just because you're all the same skin color does not make you African. Blah, 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 blah. Chief. Oh, it is John Henson. Okay. Like, I was like, but it came up as a white person, so I was so confused. Okay, so, I was right. Yay. Okay, so, where are we going back to? We're going back to here. So, and he was a Republican. So, and again, the Republican was the people having the power. Okay. Are you okay down there? Yeah. The people having the power. Excuse my house is about to get noisy. I can't stop it once it gets started. Okay. So, I want to go here. I want to talk about the early years of the Republican as far as the 1800s. We're starting in the early 1800s, and we're going to work our way down to 1865. And the reason why this is so important, because in 1865 is when the KKK started bullying people and killing people and murdering Republicans to the point where everybody was too scared to be Republican. Well, except for white folks. Black folks was scared as shit. Oh, it's just scary. That's why I'm saying I don't put that bitch in my blood. Like... Anyway, let's go.
Based upon fact of original documents sitting right here on this set right now.
Well, that's why they call themselves the Republican Party. They want to go back to the original intent. They want to go back to the founding. And so they believe...
So, again, I would like to edify the fact that a lot of black people gave other black people flack for voting for Trump. I voted for Trump. My cousin voted for Trump. A good friend of mine, Sean, voted for Trump. We voted for Trump because we could see. And they're not all into politics or politically sound. But we knew when we were being fed bullshit by the opponent. We know that the Democrats have been feeding us bullshit for years. They would say that they were for the people, but then when they get white in the White House or in a position of power, the last thing they do is do things that benefit the people, be it white people or black people. When you are a certain income tax bracket, you are not being respected or appreciated by the Democratic Party. We're not going to put a color on it. We're going to talk about Democrat, Republican, okay? Which is why white people pick up arms, you know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. They knew we were going to head into a recession. You know what I'm saying? What Trump funded HBCUs, Biden defunded them. You know, y'all wanted Biden so bad. Well, you got him. You got him. He told y'all not black if y'all don't vote for me. But and the truth of the matter is you should have went with Trump. Trump just asked you, what you got to lose? I'm the first president who ain't get out here and just butt fuck you. So what you got to lose voting for me? But let's go.
All of these laws were consistent with what the founders had tried to do in those early laws. Wow. So this is a reflection of original intent, even though it's 70 years later.
We didn't go with the early laws.
Moved away 70, 80 years.
So the early laws were that people are created equal. You can't keep differentiating from how you treat the foreigners here versus the indigenous people here. We're all people. We all deserve to be treated a certain way. Remember in the 1800s, the Dixiecrats had turned into the Democrats, okay? But the Dixiecrats had already had some political power. They're the ones who invoked the first census of the 1700s. They're the ones who really started the paper genocide of the indigenous people, et cetera, et cetera. The Republicans were fighting against this. You know what I mean? They were fighting hard because, remember, the Republicans were basically black people. Okay, the Republican Party was created right down there in the South, in the heart of the Civil War.
We had moved really far away from the original intent of the Founding Fathers, and this was a correction of that pinch.
That's right. Yeah. That 35 years in Congress from 1820 to 1854, 1855, Democrats were reversing a lot of the early laws. They said, George Washington said, no slavery in federal territories. We don't like that law. 1808 under...
You hear that, right? Okay.
At that time, under Thomas Jefferson, Congress passed this law that said no more slave trade. We don't like that law. So they went through and take all these laws that were passed early federal Congresses by the Founding Fathers and said, we disagree with all that. We're going to do.
So again, these laws were made and then they were reversed by who? The Democratic Party. And then when Republicans try to tell you all the truth in your kids' history books and tell you, look, there was no slavery, there was a war, there were prisoners of war, and there were indentured service, y'all just threw a fucking fit.
Different direction. Wow. So it's a complete reversal. So the Republican Party says, no, we're going back to the principles of the Republic. That's why they call themselves Republican Party. So there was a period of time we got away. Now we're headed back. And significantly, we come to an election in 1864 while we're still at war. Now, what's interesting is all these Southern Democrats have seceded and formed their own state. So it's going to be pretty easy to guess who's going to win the election. I mean, the Republicans now have the majority because they're still in the Union. This is a significant document right here. It's a very delicate document, if I can pick it up. This is a platform of the Republic.
I want Dane Calloway to get with this guy. Dane Calloway, if you ever come across this video, you need to get with him because he has a lot of the documents that you're looking for.
And the Democrats in 1864.
He may can help you get those Juneteenth documents that you were looking for.
That little jewel right there is just for the Republican platform and the Democrat platform.
Turn it up here,
what makes it significant, this is the first document that called for a constitutional amendment to end slavery. See what happened? They said, well, we're passing all these civil rights laws, but it's just taking too long. Let's just get a constitutional amendment and stop this thing right now.
And what year was that?
This is 1864. You see, what happened as a result of this election, Republicans got back in power, and they promptly introduced the 13th Amendment to abolish slavery. So they're put back in power, they promised to do it, and they introduced the 13th Amendment, and significantly, they voted on the 13th Amendment to abolish slavery while the Civil War is still going on. So we're talking in January and February of 1865, they have the vote in the House and the Senate to abolish slavery. Now, at that time, there were 200 members of Congress, Democrat and Republican, because at that time you still had all the Northern Democrats in. So all the Northern Democrats are still in Congress. Southern Democrats have their own nation now. Northern Democrats still in. So you get Northern Democrats and Republicans, 200 members of Congress. 137 members voted to abolish slavery. When they voted, shortly after the vote, this was produced nationally. This right here is a picture of all 137 members of Congress who voted to abolish slavery. Everyone. And it's got Abraham Lincoln right at the center because he was leading the charge on the 13th Amendment. Now, under the Constitution, a president has no role in a constitutional amendment.
Wow.
The president does nothing. This is the only constitutional amendment in American history.
Y'all heard that right? The president does nothing. It's important for y'all to understand politics and how it works. For they tell you, oh, just go out there. Y'all go out there and y'all vote for all these black people and you don't even know that they got white wives and don't give a fuck about your community. They have been divested. So if y'all wonder why y'all vote for these people, y'all wonder why Sylvester Turner hasn't done anything to promote positive living in these disenfranchised areas. Matter of fact, he's helping to gentrify a lot of Third Ward. He's helping to gentrify Fifth Ward. He's helping to gentrify in the inner city where black people used to live, and he's putting everybody else out in the cornrows and lakes and sugar lands and white lands because white people are tired of that long commute. They can't afford to live out there no more. They're putting your ass out there, making you struggle with no bus route.
It's resigned by a president of the United States. He did it symbolically to say, I know I've got nothing to do with passing the amendment. officially, but I want you to know I'm behind this. So he signed it. Now, at that time, you had
You see, hear this? Okay.
118 members of Congress that were Republican. You had 82 members of Congress.
Now I want to go back to the violence that ensued from the Dixiecrats because of this. And I want y'all to understand that the Ku Klux Klan was created by a bunch of angry farmers. Now the Democrats did not find, them. They funded them. They weaponized them. Okay. It was a bunch of angry farmers from the Confederate areas, and they were getting together because they were trying to figure out how are we going to do this farming without our counterparts. You know what I mean? Without our slaves. So they were angry farmers. They were getting together. They were like maybe smashing mailboxes and mad at sharecropping and stuff like that because they were smaller farmers. They couldn't afford to do the sharecropping and stuff like the bigger farms were doing. They had to get out there and do it themselves, and they didn't learn anything from their slaves, so they had no idea what to do. They were just a bunch of angry rednecks, basically, okay? But they weren't violent. They were just people getting together, drinking, talking shit, like the Aryan Nation do now, right?
For the rights of blacks in his state. In that hail of bullets, Dr. Winston, the Klan terrorized black Americans. The Klan terrorized black Americans through murders and public floggings. Relief was granted only if they promised not to vote for Republican tickets. In violation of this oath was punished.
You hear this? So this is in a time where they were trying to get, black people already fought for the right to vote, right? So now what they're doing, and I don't know why they don't have actual photographs because they had cameras in these days. That's why a lot of this history, I feel I'm reluctant. I approach it with such reluctance, and I like to research because of how they encapsulate the history and depict it to you. But anyway, so this is during the time where Republicans again had a lot of traction. This is before the Democrats were able to actually infiltrate and disguise themselves as Republicans, which is why Donald Trump had so many ankle monitors on so many Democrats because they were pretending in fact, which is highly illegal, to be a Democrat and have Democratic policies and then pretend to be a Republican so that you can enforce those same policies on either side. That's highly illegal, which is why he had ankle monitors on everybody. That lady who got 130 years for providing all those children to all those rich and famous people, those ankle monitors disappeared off of Oprah, off of Oprah, off of Ellen, off of all those rich people who are, suspicion for all those hot dogs that Obama bought. You know what I mean? Went away when Trump went away. And I'm worried about him. I don't know where he at. Has anybody seen Trump? Because he's not on Twitter no more. Like, where is Trump? Hope he ain't going to tell him about somewhere. He probably got too much money for that, but okay.
By death. And since the Klan was targeted against Republicans in general, it did not limit its violence simply to black Republicans. In this old illustration, the Klan in North Carolina is about to hang a white Republican. And in 1871...
So understand, you were bullied into the Democratic Party. Okay? It wasn't for your best interest. It was for their best interest to get what they wanted done. They had a plan. They knew what they wanted. All that peace and friendship treaty, all that. You were created equal. This is your land. We live in here. No. We're going to take all these engines and we're going to say that they are black. They're associated with Africa, which is what Mayor Hogovic, whatever his last name is, did. There's somebody in the last video, the $5 in the video. This is what his point was. Okay? This is what the Democratic Party did. They stole your identity. They gave your identity to their biracial bastard offspring because they look out for their biracials. They probably don't like them, but they use their biracials as a tool and they weaponize them and mechanize them against your ass. So just understand, you were bullied into being a Democrat. You were killed, murdered, shot, maimed. White people and black people alike. We had plenty of European allies. So it's not about color. It's about money and power. and the theft of the false illusion of respect. You know, they gave you the illusion of inclusion
late, he soon afterward retired.
through voting.
A little after midnight,
but you never had it.
by someone knocking
Okay?
violently at his
You
front
never
door.
had it. This man was gunned down here. But this is the KKK. Murdering a white
The Klan
Republican.
shot down this state senator, a white state senator, fighting for the rights of blacks in his state. In that hail of bullets, Dr. Winsmith was hit 7 times. However,
Just put the dogs back there. Let Chopper do it.
Wow. This other guy got really bad. She had fallen down one of our house because he tried to mount her, bitch.
Who? Oh, the baby in heat.
No, June.
Well, you can bring him back here. My dogs will be in the laundry room. But put them in the backyard, and our dogs are going to the laundry room.
You know it.
Oh,
No, they not. Okay.
he survived the shooting.
Okay,
and
so
testified before Congress about
look,
the
y'all.
attack
Y'all
made
have
by the
to
Klan.
understand this, and
This is a
again, I
Klan
apologize. I try to
push
edit that out,
1468.
but you have to
About the
understand
size of a baseball
what
card.
happened, okay,
It is
and
entitled
why it was
Radical
so
Members of the
important
South Carolina
for
legislature.
Trump
It
to get
shows
rid of the
63
deep state. I pray that we get another
They were all
president with his
Republicans.
ideology that
The
actually wants
Democrats
to
called
cleanse the
Republicans
Republican Party and start over.
because
Look
the
at all these
Republican
black
Party
men.
was biracial and
Look at all
allowed
these black
blacks to
men.
vote and
These are
participate in
the
political
original
process,
Republicans here.
thus making them
Look at all these black men. You're not going to find any black Democrats until the 1900s. And it's crazy that you all want to go and vote for the party who demonized you. And this guy here, he's just fucking stupid. I'm sick of him talking. He's going to talk about how all this stuff happened under Republicans that made this law. Republicans made that law. By the 1980s, Republicans had successfully the Democrats had successfully infiltrated the Republican Party, so there was no more Republican Party. Okay? If you look at how the Republican Party functions, it functions in congruency and in alignment with the Democratic Party. It's only when you get a true Republican that does not happen. And everybody was talking shit about Stacey Dash, but Mitt Romney was like, what's up? Trump was like, what's up? He was actually giving the black indigenous people what they were owed. He was the first one. He was one of the only presidents that we ever had to call out them white people pretending to be Indians. He did it back when he wanted a casino in the 80s, and he did it as president when he caught that lady Pocahontas. But everybody was so up in arms and wanted to call him racist. Who wasn't racist? Every president you had a racist ideology since in the 1900s. Like, stop it. But I digress. If you guys want me to go into this more, I would deep dive into it. I'm still teaching myself how to edit so that I can make videos on the level of Lovely T, honey, because I love her. I love the way she edits. So we're gonna get into it, but I want to have a discussion about this. Like, subscribe, and share, and get this book, The First Reconstruction, and read it. Okay, it'll do you some good. I love you guys, and I am out.